Arg! Ahoy there, matey! Welcome aboard the world of boating.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I was just looking into buying a boat of my own.
Call World of Boating toll-free now at 1-8888-28-BOAT. That's 1-888-828-BOAT.
And welcome. This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate. Barry, the boater. And we got Joe from Motor City Boat Works helping us out today. Yeah, Mike the Mariner tapped out. Joe is filling in this week. Actually, Mike's doing some pretty cool stuff this week. I don't know if we're allowed to say, but let's just say love is in the air. We'll just leave it at that. Let him fill in the blanks next week on the big show. All right, so before we get to Joe and find out what he's been up to, which is a lot, he's always, restoring boats and things like that. We got to talk about, of course, me.
No, we don't.
What? Oh, yeah. Barry always wants to know what's the latest with Greg, your first mate. And I was just down in the Caribbean on a boat for a week. I started in St. Martin, ended up in St. Kitts on an old trawler-type crew boat that they used to use in the Gulf, of America now, but and it was used to service the oil platforms back in the day that had been converted into a dive liveaboard boat. So it was about 120
Did it have an
feet
oily
long.
smell to it?
No, it's quite old now. So they've gutted it several times over.
How big is it?
It's about 100, 120 foot long. And, it can do 20 people, thereabouts, 18, 20 people comfortably.
So it's got a full crew and all that. You just go along as a passenger? Yeah.
Exactly. It's, this is like the best kind of diving you can do, liveaboard diving. You don't even have to take your gear apart after each dive. They help you.
They just plug it into air.
Top shelf.
Air
eat,
right
sleep, and eat, eat breakfast, roll off the side of the boat, and you're good to go for the, 4 or 5 dives a day. Now,
fancy.
It is. It's the way to go if you're a scuba diver. I mean, it's pampered diving at its best for sure. So liveaboard diving, if you ever want to check them out, explorerventures.com is the official liveaboard company of our scuba radio show, and that's what we were doing. We did a broadcast from the deck of the boat last week, which you can check out.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, at scubaradio.com. But, boating-wise, this boat does roll a little, and we had some wind. I mean, topside, there was a nice breeze, all through, the islands in that area. You got the island of Saba, St. Eustatia, and, of course, we ended up in St. Kitts. And nice. It was beautiful topside when we were on the boat. The weather was great, very little rain, but we had a little bit of a breeze to the point where it was stirring up the sediment and messed up our viz a little bit, which...
How deep is the water there?
Yeah, it can be very deep, especially off around Saba, because Saba is a unique Caribbean island that just jettisons up out of the ocean. I mean, when you're on the top of the island, it almost looks like you're looking down on a valley in Ireland or something. It's a really, really unique island in the Caribbean. A lot of people, by the way, get it mixed up. They think, are you talking about Sabah? And I think it's Indonesia or something. No, there's an island called Saba, S-A-B-A, and that's how they say it, in the Caribbean, and it's truly unique, and it was the backdrop for the original black and white King Kong movie of Skull Island, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, little island trivia for you. So very unique island in the Caribbean, and usually the diving's spectacular there, but unfortunately we kind of got blown out. I mean, even though it was perfect weather topside.
That's so odd that it would be almost, beautiful weather, but it would be so crusty downstairs in the water.
That whole area is a sailing hotspot. So a lot of sailors this time of year cruise through, the Lesser Antilles Islands. There were a bunch of catamarans and like moorings that were, hooked up to buoys around the island, around the leeward side of the island, trying to get some protection and stuff. But the island's not that big, so there's not a lot of protected areas. And when wind blows up like that, it messes up the diving. But for sailing, I'm sure it was spectacular. It was perfect.
So there were a lot of sailboats there.
Yes.
Is it possible they were all flushing at the same time?
What do you mean? Yeah, just stop it, Barry. How dare you?
Is it the
Well,
current that
you
stirs
know.
up the sediment? What is
It's
it that
gotta be.
stirs up the
Yeah.
sediment?
Well, it's the wind was blowing up the waves, and we were having I would say the seas when we were in unprotected areas were probably pushing 4 feet or so. We had
Oh, okay.
we had
well,
some
you
big-
said it was
So you had
smooth out.
wave action.
yeah, and we had some big rollers too, which was a
Yeah.
little odd. But
Greg,
they're-
do you get seasick when
Oh,
you are
does he?
out on a dive boat?
you
I
know,
get seasick.
on a boat like that, no, I don't.
Have you ever gotten seasick while you're diving?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course, especially
So,
in the early days.
Do you know why I stopped diving?
Why?
I learned to dive. I lived in the Caribbean in St. Croix for a number of years, and I learned to dive there.
Yeah.
And I was really enjoying it. And I went diving one time off the coast of St. Croix on a 30-something foot dive boat,
Mhm.
and diesel engines, and a little bit of wave action, and I got seasick.
Right.
But I didn't realize how seasick I was until we got in the water and started the dive, and I was about 30 feet underwater when I got nauseous and I threw up.
Underwater.
30 feet underwater,
Mhm.
and was so scared because I knew I was going to throw up,
Yeah.
and I didn't know, like when you throw up on land, you kind of maybe gasping for air or whatever. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know if all of a sudden water would come in my mouth 30 feet underwater or whatever. And basically I blew chunks 30 feet underwater
Yes.
diving. And
Fish feeder.
yeah.
Mhm.
And one of the most scariest things that's ever happened to me, and I've been in some scary stuff.
Yeah.
Because no one had ever told me, and a lot of people may not know this, if you throw up through your
Regulator.
regulator, right?
Uh-huh.
It's designed in such a way that particles and whatever can come out, and
Yeah.
you just continue to breathe air. It's
Yeah.
really extraordinary piece of equipment.
It goes against your human nature to
Yeah.
take your regulator out, but yeah, you're supposed to
Yeah.
leave it in and puke right through your regulator.
Yeah, and that's what I did because I didn't know what to do, and you just kind of go on your merry way.
Mhm.
And but I always remember being underwater thinking, "Oh my, I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna drown."
Joe,
Yes.
Joe,
Yeah.
that's the reason you never, ever borrow Greg's regulator.
Someone's regulator. No,
What's-
don't borrow mine. And that's one of the reasons I ultimately stopped diving. It was a little.
Oh,
it
you
was
should
a
go
scary.
back.
I
Yeah.
would like to, but it was. It was very exciting.
Well, exactly. That's one of those kind of things that, yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. But
It's a close call.
yeah, and once again, it goes against human nature to, because
Yeah.
it's you think you would want to take your regulator out, and that's what most people would think to do. And I've done it both ways, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm a dive instructor. I have a little bit more experience than your beginner diver too. But
yeah, I was a
but-
novice. Yeah.
yeah, but even so, I mean, you're supposed to leave it in and do that, but that just kind of goes against your brain. But,
Yeah, it just kind of comes right out. And everybody's like,
yeah, but if you've done it, you kind of learn from it.
get over it, huh?
Yeah, you
So
gotta
it
get
happens
back
to other
up on-
people. It's not just me. I
Oh
felt
no,
that-
it's
I felt like
I've done it. I've done
myself
it
down.
underwater. I've done it at the surface. I mean,
Really?
I had the nickname of the Chunkster back in the day,
Oh,
but I got my
all
sea
right.
legs early on, probably about 20 years ago, and so now my threshold is right at about 3 to 4 footers, right? But
Yeah.
but in a 100-foot boat like we were on, not a problem. And now if I was
Yeah,
in a
that's a big boat.
30-footer, forget
big
about
boat.
it. I'm blowing just
Yeah.
like you.
I
so,
find that I get seasick and I can recover. In the beginning, I could not recover, but
yeah.
Over my time being on boats and doing stuff, I got to the point where I get sick, but I can get over it
Manage it a little.
in about 30, 45 minutes
Yeah.
and
Well,
carry on.
For what
But-
it's worth, I didn't get sick at all last week, and I wasn't planning to talk about puking all,
Sorry,
fun today.
I just
But
tell
that's
that story.
that's okay. That's fine. You
That's
got to
the
go with
best
the
part.
flow.
I was going to die.
Yeah.
We'll get back on track. We'll get back on our flow plan next with Joe from Motor City Boat Works, Barry the Boater, and the whole crew next on the World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network.
explorer in the other 2/3 of your world. Be the buddy who takes the kids in the aquarium instead of just to it. Be adventurous. Be amazed. Be a diver.
Traffic sucks, unless you're scuba diving with Mike Scott.
Mike glanced down at his dive computer. It showed less than 50 PSI left in his tank. Probably just a few more breaths.
Or riding shotgun in a thrilling car chase.
One bullet hit the Jeep's windshield, spiderwebbing the passenger side. Mike shifted into second gear and felt the Jeep leap forward. This just got serious.
Escape your commute with audiobooks from author Eric Douglas. Download to your phone. Go to booksbyeric.com or audible.com.
Hosting a radio show about scuba diving and boating is one of the best gigs on the planet. It's actually part of my job to check out and report on cool new products I personally use to enhance my diving and boating adventures. However, I do believe in sharing the joy, and this is why we've added Nanook protective hard cases to our list of products you can now purchase on the merchandise page at scubaradio.com. Nanook cases are designed to protect the most sensitive equipment in the harshest environments. Underwater photographers, listen up. From their high-impact NK7 resin to their exclusive Power Claw latches, Nanook has raised the bar for those of you that demand the best protection for your gear. Plus, Nanook protective cases cost less than similar products currently on the market. The company has been around for over 15 years, but it's new to the U.S., so we've made a small number of Nanook cases available exclusively for you at a special introductory price on the merchandise page at scubaradio.com. Go there now and check out Nanook, the evolution of protection.
Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the world of boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Hi, guys. Y'all look great. It's so good to see y'all.
Likewise.
Welcome to Hilton Head Island. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so amazing. And so I figured what better way to see the island than on a boat.
This is the world of boating. Greg, your first mate, Barry the boater, Joe from Motor City Boatworks helping us out and part of the crew today. By the way, coming up, we're going to talk to a guy who's been monitoring some new legislation that has been percolating in the state of Florida that could affect your boating anchoring rights, no matter what state you're from. This is kind of scary stuff, but we want to bring some light to this particular issue. We're going to address that in just a bit with a special guest. But in the meantime, we've talked about me. Now time to talk to Joe after I just triggered his gag reflex, talking about seasickness and things like that. So
traumatic
Joe,
flashbacks from my time in the Caribbean.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you just got back from Spain, and
Yes.
hopefully you weren't doing any chunking in that part of the world, I assume.
No, I was on the road again looking for boat motivation stories for my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And we traveled to Spain and did a road trip through northern Spain, Basque Country. Started in Barcelona, Pamplona, Bilbao,
Wow.
Salamanca, and back around to about 2,000 kilometers. It was awesome, kind of a do-it-yourself trip.
Nice.
And I have two great episodes coming up. One is about the Maritime Museum in Bilbao, Spain. It's probably the best maritime museum I've been to in Europe. It's huge. It's like 290,000 square feet, both indoor and outdoor. They've got some dry docks with some boats there that you can look at, and then they've got some rotating exhibits on the inside part of the museum. It's really a fascinating place. So I have an episode coming up on that. And then I traveled west of Bilbao to a place called Santander and visited a friend of mine, the Carpintero de Ribas, and he is a Spanish shipwright restores and builds wooden kind of smaller sailboats, open sailboats that are used for racing there on the northern coast of Spain.
Cool.
He's been doing it for 30 years. That's his business. And he allowed me to come inside his workshop, and we talked about what it's like being a shipwright, and talked about the boats that he's working on and tips and tricks and stuff like that. It's really a fascinating experience. I love meeting these type of experts, who have made their life, their passion, their career, something to do with boats. And this was the 10th and 11th overseas international episode that I've done, where I've interviewed someone overseas who has some kind of unusual career or hobby, or they're building a boat. We've done Ireland, we did India, I've done France. Of course, we did the Netherlands. Greece. It's really, this trip was really quite exciting. So those episodes will come out April 4th, and then sometime after that.
All right.
So
and once again, the best way to get to them is MotorCityBoatWorks.com or YouTube channel, or both, right?
Yeah. You'll find it on YouTube. It's Motor City Boatworks. The works is spelled WERKS. You can't miss my large head.
Just look at our YouTube
boat.
Feed today.
Right.
Facebook Live, Twitch, take your pick. But it's nice having you as part of the crew. Yeah, and
Thank you so much.
Those episodes mixed in with all the boat restoration projects that he's constantly putting out there on YouTube. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So, what were you cruising?
Thank you.
On in Spain? What kind of boat?
No, we were driving.
Oh, you were driving. You were
RVing? It was a
RVing?
road trip on land.
Yeah.
But then along the coast, we stopped at these two locations.
Gotcha.
And we don't always get to go on boat trips overseas. It's difficult because many countries, especially the European ones, require some sort of licensing or certification to be able to rent boats or use boats. But I have another trip coming up this summer. That's an actual boating trip.
Yeah.
It'll be very exciting. So we have to kind of selectively pick and choose where we can go and where I can get a boat.
Okay. All right.
Many
So you're
places
working
I'd like
on
to
that.
go. Yeah.
Barry's raising his hand, hoping that he could be crew. I think. on your next one.
That would be cool. But you said that they require some type of certification.
Yeah.
What about if you had we call it the 6-pack license that you can get through the U.S. Coast Guards? Would that be enough for them or not enough?
So surprisingly, my understanding is in a lot of places, no, it's not enough. There are the certifications that are typically required throughout Europe. And most of the countries adjacent to Europe is something that is related, comparable to the Royal Yachting Association certifications, the what they call their offshore captains or skippers licenses, and then it depends on whether you're on a motorboat or whether you're on exclusively a sailing boat. And those certifications, that's not a one-for-one reciprocal type of thing. Some things transfer over, some things don't. In most cases, you still have to get retested, or you have to have certain number of hours competency, which you either get from a class or you get through some type of professional certification, like if you're a professional mariner or something on a ship.
Right.
But it's actually for an American, I have found it to be quite challenging to try and get some of these things, and frankly question whether it's really necessary or not for the type of cruising that I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
Thus far, we did the boat in the Netherlands, and there are other places that you can do these type of boat trips, inshore boat trips. The problem is when you want to get offshore. The problem is when you want to get into some bigger water, you maybe want to explore some of the coastal harbor type reasons and stuff. In order to rent a boat, you have to have these certifications.
Right. Well, can you do like a moorings thing where you rent a boat and it has a captain and a cook on board, and
You
they
certainly can do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of money there.
Yeah, you can certainly do that, but then you're on a larger boat, and you're not DIY, and you're not kind of self-determining where you're going to go and what you're going to do. My Netherlands trip, I particularly enjoyed that because every day it was up to me and my wife where we're going to go. What are we going to do? We want to stay longer. We want to go someplace else, and that was a smaller boat, 9 meters, so about 30 feet. It was it was great. You're like on your little ship and you just go town to town. It's very fun. And I think we would do that again if we had a chance. We got something good coming up this summer. Trust me, you're going to love it.
Yeah. Well, did this, lend itself to going back to Spain to do any of that? Or you figure that's not really on the agenda for going back and do a boat adventure?
No, Spain. My understanding is that Spain does not have the canal system, the river system, like certainly you have in Netherlands. Probably no place has that,
Right.
But
Or
there
the
are
cheese, or the wooden shoes.
Right. There are other places in Scandinavia, in the UK, Germany, Belgium, and France, of course, where they have extensive canal systems, interconnecting the cities. So you have places to go, and you could do a lot of inland, what they call inland river and lake cruising.
Yeah. Well, you got London, you got France, you got the underpants thing. I mean, you work it all in.
Oh boy.
Okay, had to get one in. All right, more coming up on the World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network.
Traffic sucks, unless you're scuba diving with Mike Scott.
Mike glanced down at his dive computer. It showed less than 50 psi left in his tank. Probably just a few more breaths.
Or riding shotgun in a thrilling car chase.
One bullet hit the Jeep's windshield, spiderwebbing the passenger side. Mike shifted into second gear and felt the Jeep leap forward. This just got serious.
Escape your commute with audiobooks from author Eric Douglas. Download to your phone. Go to booksbyeric.com or audible.com.
Do you have a message or product you need to share with the boating world? Well, look no further than the World of Boating radio show. Just like you, thousands of boating enthusiasts are hearing this message, and we could be talking about you and your product or service as early as next Saturday. Remember, a terrible thing happens when you don't advertise. Nothing. Go to worldofboating.com, send us an email, and let's get to work to make your marketing message matter.
You have successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Yoo-hoo, Mr. Pirate!
What will we do with a drunken sailor? What will we do with a drunken sailor? What will we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning?
This is the World of Boating. Gregor Versmate, Barry the Boater. We got Joe from Motor City Boat Works helping us out, and now we got Wally Moran. He has been following a story here in Florida, where we're based out of, that could affect boaters really around the world if you're visiting Florida waters. It has to do with anchoring, but there's some bills that the state legislature in Florida is dealing with right now that could affect your rights to anchor in Florida waters. And now they're meant to kind of solve the problem of derelict vessels that clog our waterways and get abandoned and things like that. But as usual, there's usually a group that gets involved and starts pushing new rules and legislative efforts that screw us all, because it kind of looks like there could be some backing of some of these bills from some homeowners that have homes on the water in South Florida in particular that would like to see the boats disappear from their view of the waterway. Right. So, Wally, welcome to World of Boating. And have I described the scenario properly from your perspective? You're way more versed in this than I. What do you think?
If anything, you were a lot kinder than you needed to be.
Oh, really? Oh, well, just wait. I'll get worse. But yeah, it's that typical legislative thing. I mean, when it gets into like political efforts and local city councils, especially, it's real easy to kind of take a stance like, I don't want to deal with that. That's kind of like political nonsense. But boy, if you ignore this kind of stuff, it will come back and bite you in the butt, and then it's too late, right? And that's kind of where we're at the moment with this, or what do you think?
it has been biting us in the butt for some years now. It's a long history. Florida has been having problems with people on shore arguing with people who are anchored out for decades. I have paperwork on my boat here from the 70s where people were arguing the same issues we're arguing today. The problem, as I see it, and I've spent 20 years watching this and talked to a lot of professionals, law enforcement professionals, politicians, boaters, harbor masters, the whole thing. The problem is that the legislature is getting advice from people who are not boaters. Okay, they're getting advice from people who have suits and work in boating associations located in DC and other places, who don't spend the time in the water that you need to understand what the issues are.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, the legislation that comes out is bad legislation, and ultimately, with one or two notable exceptions, creates more problems. Now, the current crop of bills we have right now, there's three of them. There's SB 164 in the Senate, there's SB 594 in the Senate, and there's HB 481. If those three bills are enacted as they're written now with no changes, they will effectively shut down all overnight anchoring in Florida. And when you parse the bills out, when you look at the specific details, they don't do anything to solve the so-called problems of derelict boats. What they are, very specifically, they are being driven by Miami and Miami Beach local politicians who are, as you said, trying to drive boats out, legally anchored boats, out of their area. The local people who live there don't want to see boats outside the windows. And what nobody has the guts to tell them is, you don't have that right. Your rights end at the property line.
Right. And you know, and I've seen this more often than not, unfortunately, in these type of efforts. And, you know, when they get behind an effort like this, especially if it's a condo association or, property owners, it's almost like a HOA kind of deal. They want to get rid of the ruffians, the white trash, whatever you want to call them, that they consider, or the, Captain Ron's or whatever, or maybe, I don't know. But everybody wants to solve the derelict boat problem. I mean, we don't want abandoned boats in the waterways, and everybody can understand that's an issue that has to be addressed. But like you said, they're following, these guys have got behind this effort, and they're looking at this more as a power play. You think, Wally?
That's part of it. There are actually laws in place right now to solve the derelict boat problem, but they're not being enforced. For example, you have the propulsion test. If the vessel can't fulfill the requirements of the propulsion test, which are not real onerous, then the boat can be taken off the water. There's the vessel at-risk program, where if the vessel presents in a certain way, it's open to the elements, it's covered in barnacles and can't move, etc., it can be taken off the water. And for years, we've had the
wow, this is getting pretty popular, I can see, because we're getting dinged constantly there, Wally.
Well, that's you getting it. That's you the ding. Good. I thought it was my computer. The FWC has got General Order 21, and that one states specifically that the FWC or any law enforcement officer can take a vessel off the water immediately. They don't have to wait. If they see it as a problem for the reasons that are outlined in the order, they can take that boat off the water right now.
Yeah.
But what we're having is politicians that are saying, well, we'll just create new laws to make people happy. And then those laws don't get enforced either. There is no need for this. The laws that they want to create to solve derelict boat problems, the current crop, do nothing for derelict vessels.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
What do you think there, Barry? What do you think about this?
They're just throwing out a large cast net and catching everyone and just dealing it that way. And there's no reason for it. As Wally said, your property ends at the water line. These boats should be able to anchor there, and they could do something as simple as, how I think it's United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, they have this thing where you can have your boat inspected. They put a sticker on it every year that's a different color. It shows that the boat's been inspected as far as safety and all that's concerned. You could do the same thing with these boats that anchor out there, have a big bright sticker for whatever year it is, 24, 25, 26, so that it's been inspected. It is not a derelict boat. And then they should be able to anchor there without a problem.
Well, yeah. Florida, well, Wally, what is the propulsion test exactly? Just so you have to be able to show that your boat can move at a certain speed or move at all, or what? What is that exactly?
It's basically a timed distance run.
Yeah.
For example, if you've got a powerboat, you've got to be able to cover a certain distance. You've got to be able to raise the anchor, cover the distance, return, and re-anchor.
Okay.
If it's a sailboat, you can also do it under sail if you prefer.
Right.
So in other words, you don't have to have a motor if it's on a sailboat.
So we already have that law in place here in Florida.
And I'll tell you, Sheriff Gaultieri
Okay,
Pinellas
so
County.
what you're saying is Marine Patrol or whoever's not really enforcing that rule, and if they did that, they could get rid of the derelict boat that was being complained about, maybe, or what?
They used the propulsion test in Pinellas County, Sheriff Galtieri, and
Yeah.
it did very well. It got rid of a number of boats that were a problem.
Mhm.
It didn't solve the problem 100%, but that's the only place that I'm aware of, and maybe a little bit in Miami Beach, where they've actually used the test. But it's there for this purpose. It's there to eliminate the derelicts.
Okay.
And
All right.
the
So that
teams
that
don't want
test is a thing that local municipalities in Florida have used, but it's not like a state thing yet.
it's a state thing.
It is
It's
a
a
state thing. Okay.
You can use it anywhere in the state you want.
Yeah, but they have to use it if they want to.
Right. And basically what they're doing is that because they're not doing that, they're going to throw out this blanket law and just
Hey, then we can get
throw
rid of
everything out.
all these
Well,
other
think about
boats
it.
in our view.
But think about it though. Florida is like the boating capital, if
Mm-hmm.
not one of them. So are you going to alienate all these people that come down here during the wintertime in their yachts and stuff like that and tell them, hey, we don't want you around here
Well,
anymore?
they-
Is that
they
what
may
we're
not
going to do
care
to the industry?
If they live there, that's a problem you have with property owners sometimes on the water. They would prefer there were no tourists around.
They
This is their
don't
home.
own the water.
Right. Well, that's
Simple as that.
That's the key, right, Wally? Is that the issue?
Well, they don't. The water is a public trust, and there are valid concerns with people who anchor a boat and camp there for years on end. Okay, especially if it's a trashy boat, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, you don't want like Barry coming up to your backyard and
Oh, thank you. My boat is kept updated and clean, and I don't have.
Well, I'm not
a
talking about your
holding
boat. I'm
tank or
talking
anything.
about you.
Oh, just me in general.
Yes,
Oh, that's
yes,
that's kind.
Exactly.
All right, I'll
You know.
remember that next time I take you out.
Yeah, well, okay. You'll forget it by then. He's old up there. He won't remember this conversation. All right, I think Wally actually has another solution that might be a great alternative. We'll talk about that next on The World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network. You have successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Listen up. The ship is sinking. Okay? We're going down right now. Just wrap your heads around the reality of that. In 5 minutes, this ship is going to be at the bottom of the lake. And there aren't enough spaces on the lifeboat. Who are we going to save?
This is the World of Boating. Gregor First Mayberry, the boater. We got Joe from Motor City Boat Works. And right now, Wally Moran from, he's following this legislative nightmare that Florida boaters might have to deal with here pretty soon. We're kind of in the thick of it right now. Well, the Florida legislature is looking at a few bills that could affect your boating anchoring rights in Florida. So whether you're in Florida or not, this could affect you. If you come here and want to boat or cruise around the state of Florida, you may be blank out of luck if some of these bills go through. Is that right, Wally? I mean, it may really limit the places where you're allowed to anchor around Florida if this goes how some people are pushing.
The one bill, the Senate Bill 594, provides for a 5,000-foot set-off around every seaport. And that 5,000-foot set-off, as we were talking in the break there, basically eliminates all anchorage in Palm Beach. In other words, if you have a boat anchored in Palm Beach, or if you want to go to the Bahamas from Palm Beach, you can't anchor there.
Yeah.
Okay, you'd have to anchor several miles up to find a place to anchor. It creates an unsafe situation, and it's unnecessary because let's face it, a boat that's using that seaport is not coming into the 7 and 8 foot deep waters that 5,000-foot set off covers. That's ludicrous.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's true. Exactly. Cruise ships can't go the same place where a little catamaran sailboat goes.
And then the other bill, Senate Bill 480 or House Bill 481, pardon me. It's just bad all the way through it. But the really ugly little part of it is that it returns rulemaking to local authorities. Now, back in the aughts, 2004, 2005, around that time, all the boating associations were fighting with the government, and they wanted all the regulations to be standard in Florida. Because what used to happen, you come into Fernandina Beach, you could anchor as long as you wanted.
Right.
You get down to St. Augustine, you might be able to anchor for 96 hours. You get down to Fort Lauderdale, it was 72 hours. I found that out the hard way in an argument with a water cop.
Right.
You get down to some other location that you can't anchor at all. You have to move on.
Yeah.
So the problem is, it was a mess. So they removed local rulemaking authority from the cities. It has to go through the state, and that's Florida Statute 327.602F. Now they want to reverse that and give rulemaking authority back to certain communities. When that happens, I guarantee you, as soon as it's passed, Miami Beach is going to make anchoring in their water.
Yeah, they're like the most strict homeowners association. Just gonna look at it that way.
Well, what's the alternative? What's the solution?
Well, I think Wally does have. Wally has some ideas. Of course, one was you said enforce the rules already on the books. That would keep a lot of this stuff at bay already. But you actually do have a more regional type of approach that you're pushing as well, Wally. Is that right? To this?
I wrote a white paper called Anchoring the Solution. And what it basically does is it sets up a process which I call zoned management, where you have three basic cohorts. The problem is that they've never addressed all the different cohorts of boating. You have liveaboards, you have transient boaters, and you have wet storage. And each one of those cohorts gets a specific area in which they can anchor.
Okay.
Wet storage boats must be moored. They cannot be just left out at anchor, for example. Liveaboard boats have to meet certain qualifications, things like this that can be established in any community and that will solve the problems for everybody, because you're going to get local input. So let's choose Miami Beach because they're just so prominent in the problem. Miami Beach can say, well, we don't want the liveaboard boats here because people get upset by that. So, okay, we'll move the liveaboard boats to another location. We'll put the wet storage boats here. And it solidifies everything, puts it in a place, keeps everybody happy. And it eliminates this constant rulemaking every session. This solution, if implemented, should last for a decade. On top of that, change a couple laws. I watched a boat sink behind me in Stewart one time, called the FWC in the sheriff's office. They didn't show up till the next day. The guy who owned the boat lived in Germany, but they couldn't do anything about it anyway. The law has to be changed so that if a boat's sinking, the police can mandate. They can say to Boat US, get on board that boat, pump it out, get it out of the water. The boat gets hauled, and then they deal with it as necessary.
Yeah, but right now there's all this legislative BS in the way, and they can't even do something as simple as that. Now, Wally, before we continue on, I want to make sure we get it out on how people can connect with you if they want to get involved with this issue. What's the best way to do that? Like your group on Facebook or something, or what?
That's probably the fastest one. If they go to CRNNA Saving Florida's Anchorages, or probably on Facebook, just Saving Florida's Anchorages, they can join the group. It's a private group, so they can have discussions there without every troll in the world.
Yeah. Well, there's one now. I heard them.
Yeah, they get real annoyed when I talk like this.
Yes, I think they're trying to sabotage you or something.
And if anybody wants to read the white paper, they can go to crnna.com, and then they'll see a link that says download white paper. It's a 28-page document. It gives all the plan. And I'm welcome to discuss. I'm happy to discuss with anybody. And if they can pick it apart and show me where I've got something wrong, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
But I think.
Well, and look, Wally was very proactive, reaching out to us here at the World of Boating. I haven't been following this issue that close, and but I will tell you from speaking with him off the air, he seems very open to all sides, and he's trying to solve a problem here that has been evolving over some time. And if you just Google him, Wally Moran on Google, all this stuff pops up. You've been pretty vocal on this issue there, Wally. So it's pretty easy to find you if you want to, right?
I was a writer for several boating magazines, including Waterway Guide. So it's easy to get a hold of me if somebody wants to reach me and discuss this issue.
Right.
But if we don't deal with it, we're going to lose our right to anchor in Florida.
Yeah.
I guarantee you it will be gone.
Well, and this is how it happens. I mean,
Exactly.
the legislative process, like I said at the beginning of talking to Wally, I've seen this happen so many times, especially in the diving world in Florida. Somebody comes up with some idea. They don't like this dive operator, or they don't like this boat, the way it's anchored out, and somebody has some connections in a city council or or the legislative branch in Florida, and next thing you know, there's some bill that's pushed forward, and by the time the community is aware of what's going on, it's too late, and you're up against a wall, and you're trying to fight to get your rights back, as opposed to being proactive and keeping it from happening in the first place. So that's why, from my perspective, it's important as a boater, whether you think this affects you or not, that you should at least try to be aware of it. Because, when you ignore that kind of stuff or get, apathetic to what's going on around you from a legislative thing, that's when it comes back and bites you in the ass. So there's my my soapbox speech on it. Wally, do I got it right, or you think I'm off base?
The key thing is what you said. You have to get involved to protect your rights.
Yeah.
And that goes in any part of society these days. Mm-hmm. But in our world, in the boating world, we've been getting beaten up for years now, and we've got to stand up and we've got to say to them, no. Yeah. You have to listen to us. You don't need to listen to the guy in the suits. You need to listen to the guy in the if it was Maryland, the guy in the white boots. But you got to listen to the people who are on the water full time, who understand the situation, who have the answers.
Right.
We got a Marylander over there. I suspect he's nodding when I said white boots.
Yes. Hit a little too close to home, maybe. I don't know. But regardless, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it happens more often than not, no matter what industry you're talking about. But when it comes to boating, not everyone understands what we have to deal with. As a boat owner and cruising the waterways and things that affect us. And like I said, even if they're, they're trying to do a good thing, which, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, hey, look, they're trying to get rid of the derelict boats. Oh, that's a noble cause. Unfortunately, a lot of times those causes end up being the front for something a little bit more nefarious.
Exactly. That is exactly right.
So that's why you got to pay attention to this stuff. Wally, good work. Keep it up. Keep us informed, and we'll spread the word as much as we can here at the World of Boating. Sound good?
Thank you very much.
You got it. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Till next time, remember, whether it is sail or motor,
life is better
if you're a boater.
That's right. Safe boating, everyone.
Barnacle-bitten swab.
World of Boating is brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Any of this getting through to you, son?
World of Boating is a production of Overboard Entertainment Incorporated.
Computer standing by.
Remember, you can listen live or to archives of past shows worldwide over the internet at worldofboating.com.
Computers can do that?
So tell a friend and come aboard every week for the World of Boating.
This is so great. I can't wait. I'm getting goosebumps. Feel me. Feel me.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The opinions you just heard on the World of Boating are those of the hosts, callers, and guests. They are not necessarily those of any station or network, its management, or advertisers.
What are you being such a weenie for?
While on the water, your safety and the safety of many others depends on you. So boat smart and operate your vessel only after receiving the proper training and instruction for your area.
There is a fine line between genius and madness.
Have any questions or comments? Feel free to do so via the web at worldofboating.com.